February Summit Board of Education meeting to order.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Summit Board of Ed meeting scheduled for Thursday, February 13th. If you could please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, I wish to announce that the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. Notices announcing the date, time, and place for this meeting were sent to all concerned individuals, associations, and sent to Union County local source in accordance with Chapter 231 of Public Law in 1975. For the roll, Ms. Stanton?
Here.
Mr. Mahecha?
Here.
Ms. Kelly?
Here.
Ms. Erde?
Here.
Mr. Cho?
Here.
Vice President Cohen?
Here.
President Justice?
Here.
You have a quorum. And now, the board needs to go into executive session. So whereas pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12B, the Board of Education may exclude the public from that portion of a meeting wherein the board discusses any of the matters set forth at NJSA 10:4-12B 1 through 9. Now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, the Board of Education shall conduct a closed session pursuant to the provisions of NJSA 10:4-12B for the purpose of discussing the following matters: personnel and matters covered by the attorney-client privilege. It is anticipated the length of the time of this executive session will be 60 minutes, and that action may be taken in public after the executive session. So that being said, may we have a motion to go into executive session, please? Thank you, Ms. Kelly. May I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Erde. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Matter carries. We're in executive session at 5:33. Thank you.
I'd like to call our meeting back to order. May I have a motion to close executive session?
Any
And now-
discussion? All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we're back at 6:37. Thank you.
And now we'll move to our presentations. Board members, you can sit in the audience. Thank you. You are welcome.
Good evening. I'm Scott Huff, Superintendent of Schools, and welcome. Welcome to this wonderful celebration. This truly is one of the best evenings of the board meeting schedule throughout the school year. We get to celebrate our young scholars, our National Merit Scholars. Such an amazing feat. Summit High School, over 40 Merit Scholars. That is something to be proud of. Congratulations. And to our scholars, congratulations. This is the culmination of 12 years of public schooling and working hard to strive to be the best person you can be, the best student you can be, and you've earned it. And it's something you should be very, very proud of. You're part of an elite class, and it's really poised and positioned yourself well to be successful in the rest of your endeavors and the rest of your life. And you should be very, very proud. But one of the best pieces of tonight, parts of tonight, is that we're celebrating the fact that you just didn't do this alone. Right? It takes your family. It takes your wonderful teachers and staff alongside you every step of the way to support you and have you grow and be the person you've become. So it's so special to be here with all of you tonight to celebrate those things. With that, I'll turn it over to Principal Grimaldi.
Good evening. Tonight, we honor the Summit High School seniors who have received the distinction of being named as a scholar student by the 2025 National Merit Scholarship Program. In order to be recognized by the National Merit Scholarship Program, students need to receive a qualifying score on the PSATs that were taken during their junior year. A small portion of these students moves on to receive the recognition as National Merit Scholar semifinalists and finalists. This is an amazing accomplishment that students can include in their applications for colleges and that qualifies the students to receive scholarships. Likewise, these students will pay tribute to a current or former district staff member who has had a profound impact on them during their Summit educational experience. The students will be presenting their honored guest with a special book accompanying inscription. So we're going to start out in just a little logistics for tonight. So we're going to call the student up with their teacher. You're going to come here and you're going to present your teacher or staff member with the book. You're going to get a picture taken. Then you're going to go up the stairs and you're going to go on the stage. And you're going to stay there until we get a picture at the end. Okay? I know it's a lot, but you could do it. I have faith in you. Miss Justice, can you come on up? You could do it, Will. So we're going to do this in alphabetical order. So William Ard has selected Mr. Dan Cummings and will present him with the book, The Satyricon by Petronius. Yeah, to your kids. It's fine. And then they're going to get a picture taken. There we go. Jade Augustin has selected Miss Brianna Kane and will present the book, The Heart of It All by Christian Kiefer. Abigail Bly has selected Miss Sunita Viswanath and will present to her the book, The Life of Pi by Jan Martel. So while they're taking that picture, our next recipient and teacher could not be here tonight, so I'm just going to read their names. Maya Bofinger has selected Miss Kelly Wright and will present the book to her tomorrow, Pretend We're Dead by Tanya Pearson. That's a little scary, sorry.
Subtitle, The Rise, Fall, and Resurrection of Women in Rock in the 90s.
Okay, that feels better. Okay, thank you. I'm just reading off a sheet, sorry. Yes. Abigail Camerano has selected Miss Wendy Donut and will present to her The Demon of Unrest by Eric Larson. Montserrat Chacon has selected Miss Anna Gomez and will present to her The Thank You Book by Mo Willems. Maddie Chen has selected Miss Elizabeth Mongo and will present to her The Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. Ellie Curra will present The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna to Miss Catherine Galloway. Max Eng has selected Miss Kathy Branchflower and will present The Pushcart War by Jean Merrill. Lillian Eggman will present Outlive by Peter Attia to Miss Jackie Mattoon. Julia Aroles has selected 2 books to present to Miss Sylvia Vicente, El Reino del Revés and Poesía Completa. Sophia Estupinan will present Ms. Elizabeth Contreras with Good Vibes, Good Life by Vex King. Nicholas Fenelus has selected Miss Mary Lynn Rhodes and will present to her The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. Liv Gee has selected Miss Nevena Boyovic and will present to her the book Absolutely on Music by Haruki Murakami. Lucas Gomez will present the book Driven by Eternity by John Baveri to Mr. Michael Gleason. Bella Gulati has selected Mr. Chris Miller and will present to him the book To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee.
Maybe want to stagger yourself, like go double up.
We're only halfway through. Okay. Gabriella Guzzinati has selected Miss Angelique Bender and will present to her Humble Pie by Matt Parker. Thomas Hamilton has selected Miss Rosalie Kovac and will present to her the book American Moonshot by Douglas Brinkley. Rebecca Harris has selected Mr. Ike Welsh and will present to him the book Baseball, The Turbulent Mid-Century Years by Stephen Geitshire. Okay, this way. She'll be okay. I'll make this one now. We don't have them. We'll get. Sorry, I don't know. You might have gotten stuck to somebody else's. It's okay. I didn't check them. Carter Herman has selected Miss Tina Lee and will present to her the book Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein. Emily Hickey has selected Miss Laura Kaplan and will present to her the book What You Do Matters by Kobe Yamada. Elon Hodem has selected Miss Angela Kerr and will present to her the book Nexus by Yuval Noah Harari. Claire Kwan has selected Mr. Dan Gollin and is presenting to him the book tonight, The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Claire cannot be here, but we do have the book to present to Mr. Gollin, so. And while they're taking that picture, Ethan Lawton could not be here this evening. He selected Mrs. Appel and is going to present to her the Iliad by Homer at a later date. Megan Lennis has selected Miss Hannah Rothstein and will present to her Constructing a Nervous System by Margot Jefferson. Jonathan Liang will present John Ross with the book 1984 by George Orwell. Samuel Liu has selected Mr. Jeremy Moorman and will present to him the book The Beginnings of Western Science by David Lindbergh. Julia Maicha has selected Miss Christina Allian and will present the book How Not to Be Wrong by Jordan Ellenberg. Lexi Malik will present the book Humankind by Rutger Bregman to Miss Elizabeth Bittner. Beatrice Morgan has selected Mr. Jack Moranjo and will present the book Dune by Frank Herbert. Did you really? Syra Patel has selected Miss Abigail Emerson and will present to her the book The Phantom Toll Booth by Norton Juster. Luca Ramniciano has selected Miss Joan Liu and will present to her the book The Story of the Stone by Cao Zhujuan. Jason Schwartz has selected Miss Caroline Ganay and will present to her the book 12 Angry Men by David Mamet. Emily Sensenit has selected Miss Ashley Wallison and will present to her the book Undaunted by Brooke Kroger. Miss Wallison could not be here this evening, but please congratulate Emily. Okay, just give her- Or you can give it to her. Nikita Shevyakov has selected Mr. Alex Gentle and will present him the book The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. Mr. Gentle could not be here this evening, but again, please congratulate Nikita. Emma Vahel has selected Miss Monica Bartlett and will present her the book A Nation of Women by Luisa Capitiello. I said that wrong, Capitiello. Miss Bartlett, again, could not be here this evening, so congratulate Emma, please.
I want to lick people's certificates. There we go.
While Emma's getting her picture taken, I want to introduce our next group who cannot be here tonight. Jag Vargas has selected Miss Erin Fogarty and will present to her the book Just Add Water by Katie Ledecky, which is very appropriate because they are at a swim meet tonight. And we have Alexander Vihap has selected Mr. Frank Baragona and will present him the book Finite and Infinite Games by James Carsey. Ethan Vella has selected Miss Jessica Pietricatella and will present to her The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And Ava Wallach has selected Ms. Christine Stelmach and will present to her The Science of Gardening by Dr. Stuart Fairmont. Congratulations again to these students and their families for receiving this honor, and the staff members for having such a huge, tremendous impact on these students.
Do you have any thoughts, Ms. Dickinson? Maybe.
You need to move out of the way.
Oh, I'm in the way. Okay.
Maybe the front row can be like,
They can be here.
Probably like 3 rows, maybe.
there are 3 rows. Can you sit? On the front row, sit. Second row, like, kneel. There we go. If you can't see the camera can't see you. That's the rule. Everybody good? Congratulations again.
Please be careful off the stage. Thanks, sir. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess. So if you don't want to stay for the remainder of this meeting, feel free to leave. Congratulations once again. Have a great night.
I think I'm good. Thank you, though.
Hey, Ron. Hello. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you too. Yep. Be safe. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Good night. Good night. Thank you. Be safe. Found it. You did? Yes. Be safe. Have a good one. Yep. You're welcome. Good night. Thank you. Have a good rest of your night, guys. Good night.
Congratulations. Good seeing you.
Good. I know.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, good. Thank you all, and we'll return back to our meeting, and we will start with the president's announcements. Before I begin my announcement, I would like to extend my gratitude to the parents who carved time out of their day to attend our coffee and conversation event with myself and Vice President Cohn. It was refreshing to engage with members of the Summit community in a more informal manner. And a thank you to Washington Elementary School for letting us borrow the Library Media Center for the morning on Tuesday. As we come together this month to celebrate and honor Black history, I want to focus my comments on recognizing the incredible work happening across our schools. Through thoughtful lessons, engaging activities, and meaningful discussions, our students are deepening their understanding of the achievements, contributions, and impact of Black Americans throughout history and in the world today. At Summit High School, the Black Student Union is leading the way with several impactful events. Earlier this month, BSU members partnered with the Summit Free Public Library and the Summit Interfaith Council Anti-Racism Committee to host a screening of the Netflix documentary Black Barbie. This event, led by students, Nima, Khalees, and Miriam, brought together a diverse audience, from elementary students to senior citizens, for a meaningful conversation on representation, identity, and the importance of seeing yourself reflected in the world. Following the screening, attendees had the special opportunity to participate in a virtual Q&A with the film's director, LaGuardia Davis, sparking an intergenerational discussion that resonated deeply with all who attended. Looking ahead, the BSU will host Moments in Music on March 14th, a celebration of African American culture through music, and Sneaker Ball on March 21st, a unique formal event where students dress up but wear sneakers, bringing fun, friendship, and community together. At Lawton C. Johnson Summit Middle School, students are participating in advisory lessons, highlighting the achievements of Black leaders and historical events through the Social Institute. 7th and 8th graders are also engaging in a powerful discussion on the danger of a single story, examining how stereotypes shape our perceptions. Each week, the morning announcements spotlight influential Black figures from fields like science, literature, entertainment, and sports. Across our elementary schools, students are learning about Black history in ways that are both engaging and meaningful. At Franklin, morning announcements in the weekly parent newsletter highlight prominent Black Americans, while students participate in lessons and research projects exploring their contributions. Brayton students are conducting research projects and daily read-alouds, and the Community Digital Board is showcasing Black Americans in STEAM fields. Lincoln Hubbard kicked off the month with an interactive assembly, Time Machine, which combined music and laser technology to bring Black history to life. Jefferson students have been working closely with their media specialists and teachers on research projects and read-alouds. At Washington, several classrooms are conducting research on both historical and contemporary Black leaders, with read-alouds reinforcing these lessons. Even our primary centers are ensuring that our youngest learners engage with Black history through read-alouds, nonfiction literature, and role-playing exercises that help them understand the importance of their words and actions. I am so proud of the work our educators and students are doing to celebrate Black History Month, not just as a moment in time, but as an opportunity to build awareness, foster discussion, and inspire future generations. Thank you to our teachers, administrators, and students for their dedication to making this month impactful. Let's continue to celebrate, learn, and grow together. Thank you. And
Thank
we'll
you,
move to the
President.
superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Justice.
You're welcome.
I'd like to start my report by thanking Principal Grimaldi and Elizabeth Aaron for organizing such a wonderful event each year. It's so well organized, and it's such a celebration, so I'm going to be sure to thank them later. And we usually start my report with welcoming in our new hires. We're a little light this month on our new hires, but we do have one very special guest, and I'm sure from the time she spent with us so far, she is getting a flavor for the culture of our community and our school district. And that is Ms. Caitlin Jones. She'll be health and physical education teacher at Lawton C. Johnson Summit Middle School for the 25-26 school year. So welcome.
Motion to close the superintendent's report.
No, motion to accept the new hire.
Oh, sorry.
report.
Motion to accept the new hire, which is very important because we're glad to have you.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Maicha? Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Urde?
Yes.
Mr. Cho? Vice President Cohen?
Yes.
President Justice?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations. You don't feel obligated to stay. You can go. Thank you. I'd like to continue my report with a few comments about current happenings in the school district. Recently, there's been some discussions about the use of electronic devices, primarily cell phones in our schools, and I want to share with the full board our current practice at the various grade levels. At the elementary, we currently, at elementary level, students must have their cell phones turned off and placed in the backpacks until the end of the day. At the middle school, students must have their cell phones turned off and kept in their locker until the end of the day. And at the high school, students may keep their cell phones on them, but are not allowed to use them during class time unless teachers ask them to use it as a tool for instructional purposes. This has been our practice for many years. It has not been updated, but we're going to take this time now in the various viewpoints on the best way to move forward. The administration is going to monitor the effectiveness of our current practices, and the administration will convene it by the end of the school year to recommend a cell phone policy that meets the needs of our community. We encourage parents to have the conversations with their children now about following the current practices for cell phone use during the school day. Next, I want to remind the board that you'll see on the agenda this evening a resignation for Principal Natalie Farias of Jefferson Elementary School. Ms. Farias has been with Summit Public Schools for the last 3 years, and she is moving on to advance her career by taking a central office position in a district closer to home. On behalf of the board, I thank Principal Farias for her contributions over the last 3 years, and I wish her much success in the next chapter of her career. As a result, on the agenda tonight, I am recommending the approval of an interim principal at Jefferson Elementary School. When there's a mid-year resignation for an important administrative position like principal, it is incumbent for the superintendent to appoint an interim principal for a period of time to allow for a proper and thorough search for the next full-time principal. It is critical that an experienced administrator be appointed for that temporary position to ensure the ongoing effective operation of the school. I have the utmost confidence that Mr. Dan Healy will accomplish that goal. Mr. Healy has been a successful administrator in the school district for the last 11 years as athletic director and supervisor of health and PE, and I look forward to his efforts to keep Jefferson thriving. I will begin the new search for the new principals at both Lincoln Hubbard Elementary School and Jefferson in the coming weeks. My goal is to recommend candidates for approval to the board for both of these positions at our April board meeting. This will allow for a July 1 start if in fact the chosen candidate must give 60 days notice to their current employer. As I've done in the past, these searches will be done collaboratively with input from parents and staff. The search process will include the opportunity for parents and staff to participate in surveys and focus groups to help us build a profile for the best candidate for each of our schools. I will keep the board informed about the progress of the search as we work through this process. The district has made some progress in our strategic planning. There's been several productive meetings thus far, and we're excited about the possibilities for the future of our school district. With that being said, we added an additional parent focus group session for February 25th at 6 p.m. in Summit High School cafeteria. I encourage parents to join us that evening to participate in activities that will help us shape the future of our school district. More information will be provided as we get closer to the event. In-school happenings at the primary centers. Primary Center used the Super Bowl as an opportunity to kick off tech. Staff shared various tech-related lessons that they've incorporated into the classroom in an effort to extend professional learning opportunities among staff. At Franklin, they welcomed Sylvia Chen, who wrote Tricky Chopsticks. Students engaged in the Chopsticks Challenge and raced against the author to pick up pom-poms using different styles of chopsticks. That was a tough one to get out, actually. At Jefferson, they're inviting the students and staff and parents to shape the school's values and expectations. Through survey data, Jefferson will analyze the results to create the school's values for the upcoming school year. And at Brayton, congratulations to fourth grader Court Grow, who came in first in place in the annual spelling bee. Brayton also hosted a Living Voices assembly for grades 3 to 5, thanks to an SEF grant. Living Voices brings history to life through live performances, photos, sound, and creating an interactive experience that immerses audience in significant historical moments. Now, Lincoln Hubbard hosted its annual Sweetheart Dance on February 7th. The event was a huge hit for our students and staff, and all elementary schools celebrated the 100th day of school, where they engaged in fun activities and dressed up to represent 100 items or themselves as 100 years old. Last week, Summit Public Schools celebrated School Counseling Week by honoring our dedicated school counselors. Many of our elementary schools joined in the celebration with Spirit Days to bring the community together to show support. Here at the middle school on Friday, February 7th, they hosted an 8th grade career day. Parents from the community represented various professions, met with individual students to discuss their careers. Over 20 fields were represented, including healthcare, entertainment, business, law, mental health, engineering, real estate, and more. And in athletics, congratulations to Summit High School senior student athletes who have committed to continue their academic and athletic careers in college next year. To see where all 17 student athletes will be attending next year, please visit our district website. And in the world of arts, the middle school select choir Belcanto was selected to perform the national anthem at Rutgers University women's basketball game on January 31st. Singers sang their hearts out on the court and stayed to cheer on the Scarlet Knights. And 5 middle school students were recently accepted into the Central Jersey Intermediate Region Band and Orchestra. After a series of rehearsals, these students will be performing at a concert on Sunday, March 2nd at Bridgewater Raritan Middle School. And finally, I want to recognize the historical importance of February as Black History Month. As mentioned in President Justice's report, our schools engage in many powerful learning activities that help our students appreciate the achievements of so many Black Americans throughout the history of our country. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent. May I have a motion for the superintendent's report, items A through C?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Miecha?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Erde? Mr. Cho?
Yes.
Vice President Cohen?
Yes.
President Justice?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And now we move to our student board representative report. And Grace, you have been more than patient. We appreciate it so much. And you can leave right after your report.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone. I'm so glad to be back presenting in front of you all. Tonight, I'm currently in place of Matt because he is away for the long weekend that we have ahead. So I'm going to start off with the sports happenings that have been happening in the school. So recently, the high school just hosted a signing day on February 10th to recognize all the senior athletes who have committed to their college of choice for either D1, D2, or D3 athletics. It was an amazing way to recognize all students for their hard work and abilities throughout high school as they take this big step forward. Additionally, the girls and boys hockey team had their senior nights recently and happened to win their games on those days. On the boys' senior day, they won 5-1 against Cranford, and the girls 7-1 versus Randolph. The girls' basketball team also had their senior night on February 4th as they faced their rival against Oak Knoll. The Summit swim team also has made many accomplishments after the counties. Many of the girls and boys qualified for the Meet of Champions for their times, including some placing for top 3 in their events. Furthermore, recently the winter track team had a meet on February 10th that allowed 4 girls to qualify for the group's meet. The 4x4 team included Emily Farberoff, Kira Borst, Olivia DaCosta, and Anna Smorgowitz. Recently, the high school has held a screenager movie viewing, which showed the impact of the digital age on teenagers and how to help them find balance between everyday life and screen time. The viewing was held on February 7th with the opportunity for some viewers to earn a scholarship if they attended. Currently, the Thrift and Sustainability Club has partnered with the theater production of The Prom to provide opportunities for students to donate clothing and accessories to those in need. Furthermore, the 9th and 10th grade dance will be held on Friday, March 7th, and the Student Council has been selling tickets all this week to prepare for the upcoming event. And lastly, the Unified Basketball team prepares to have their final away game on February 21st in the home gym against Ridgewood. And that pretty much wraps it up for the past eventful weeks within the high school. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I look forward to the next meetings.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Grace. And next item, additions or revisions to the agenda?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. There are several. I ask for your patience. The first one is under personnel item 7. The date is changing to February 10th from February 7th, and the rate is $125 a day for the date of February 7th. The second is on page 8 under personnel item C. We are removing the second name, Vincent Papadia. The third is on page 10, item O. It is not Summit High School, but it is LCJ SMS. We are removing on page 12, item 18, executive session, since we had that at the beginning of the meeting. And then on the addendum, under personnel, item B, approval of the maternity leave, family leave for the following staff: Victoria Stevens, grade 4 teacher, Franklin Elementary School, and Alexandra Sullivan, grade 2 teacher, Lincoln Hubbard Elementary School. Item AA, approval to pay Karen Fergione for an out-of-state and overnight field trip. Item B, approval to pay the following Jefferson Elementary School staff for the Jefferson after-school enrichment classes from March 24th through May 19th. up to 8 hours each. The names are there. There are 6 of them. And item double C, approval of the following Summit High School staff to teach an extra 6 social studies period effective February 21st through May 19th, 2025. And there are 5 names. And I would ask that you consider those addendums for approval this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will move to committee reports. We will start with Education and Student Activity Services Committee.
The Education and Student Activities Services Committee met on February 6, 2025 at 12 p.m. for 43 minutes. Committee members in attendance were myself, board members Walida Justice and Eileen Kelly, Superintendent Scott Huff, Heather Rocco, Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Chris Lamar, Director of Student and Personal Services, and Gregory Margolis, Director of Special Services. The first thing we discussed was a change and revision to the school calendar for the 25-26 school year. We originally did not account for the June 2nd election day as a school closing. Because of this, we are now changing President's Day weekend to 1 day off instead of 2 days. We will be closed on Monday, February 16th, 2026, but not Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. And we will then close for June 2nd, Election Day. Secondly, we discussed the 12-month holiday schedule. We reviewed the 12-month holiday schedule for the 25-26 school year, which is composed of designated holidays for those 12-month payroll employees. We then moved on to the iReady mid-year report for families. Students in grades K to 8 completed their iReady mid-year diagnostic in January, and letters were sent home Friday to notify parents of their students' mid-year report, which was available via their child's iReady portal. Please follow the directions in the email letter to access your child's results. If you did not receive the letter, please reach out to our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Heather Rocco, so we can ensure that you have access. We then moved on to the middle school ERI program. Gregory Margolis shared that the elementary school ERI, Emotional Regulation Impairment Program, that started in September with only 2 students enrolled, currently now has 4 students enrolled. The teachers have accomplished a tremendous amount of work and success in a short amount of time, including having these students have some inclusive time in traditional classroom settings. Other districts like Westfield, Madison, and Livingston have heard about our success and have been visiting to observe with the intention of creating their own in-district programs. Our current challenge is 2 of these students enrolled at the elementary level will be moved on to the middle school program next year. As such, we are creating a scaffolding that will occur in the 25-26 school year. There are a number of students on the radar to fill the current placements with those students moving up and transitioning to a middle school program. This self-sustaining program saves us roughly $200,000 at the elementary level annually, and with the addition of this middle school ERI program for the 25-26 school year, it will save us another $200,000 for a total savings of $400,000 annually by keeping these students in district. Finally, we discussed the inclusion program at Franklin Elementary School. The inclusion model was piloted at Washington Elementary School this year for grades 1 through 5, with huge success and positive anecdotal feedback from the principal, general education teachers, special education teachers, and parents. The data collected thus far reflects growth in student performance and will be reviewed as the year continues. Washington is excited to continue this program, and moving forward, the goal is to implement this program district-wide. As such, we will need to hire an additional staff member to ensure we have all the necessary resources to successfully implement this program at an additional elementary school. For the 25-26 school year, our goal is to implement this program at Franklin Elementary School. It is important to note that our secondary schools have a lot of this programming already in place, which is why we focus on the elementary schools. The recommendations for approval are the revision to the 25-26 school year calendar, the approval of the 25-26 12-month holiday schedule. Our next meeting is Thursday, March 13th at 12 p.m. Are there any questions or additions from the board? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stanton. Next will be operations.
Thank you. Bear with me, this was a long meeting. So the Operations Committee met on Monday, February 3rd at 3:30 p.m. for approximately 2 hours. Committee members in attendance included Superintendent Scott Huff and Business Administrator Derek Jess, as well as board members Jan Cho, Melanie Cohn, and myself. Items discussed on this month's agenda included a review of NJQ Stack, which is the New Jersey Single Accountability Continuum. This report is the Department of Education's monitoring and district self-evaluation system for public public school districts, which occurs every 3 years. The monitoring focuses on evaluating districts in 5 key components, which include instruction and program, fiscal, governance, operations, and personnel. The district needs a minimum score of 80% in each of these categories, which it largely achieved with the exception of the instruction and program category, where the district scored a 78%. Points for this category were missed due to the absence of a dance curriculum and a delay in disclosing statewide assessments to the Board of Education, as well as reports of aggregated and disaggregated subgroup data and respective trends analysis. Superintendent Scott Huff has thoroughly reviewed this process and instituted an operational calendar for communication so that moving forward, the Board of Ed will have access to this information within the 60-day timeframe. We also discussed Tatlock Field, where the deadline for bids is today, February 13th, and the intention of the business office is to provide approval to a favorable bidder by March. As a reminder, the work for Tatlock Field is intended to commence this summer, July timeframe, and will take approximately 18 months to complete due to new electrical work requirements, new plumbing, and an addition of new HVAC equipment. For the public's awareness, this means that the span of this work will impact 2 football seasons as well as other sports over the 18-month period. A general update on construction. The middle school construction has passed final inspection for electrical and plumbing, and remaining items include punch list items and the completion of the wellness center. The high school construction is on track with work to be completed by the spring. On ROD grants, as a reminder, the district is eligible for ROD grants, which will provide a 40% rebate from the state on state-approved roof replacement work at 4 schools. The district does not have this money on hand to cover the entire expense up front, which is approximately $12.6 million, and thus a bond issuance would be required. The business office this month presented an estimate of additional improvement projects that could be included in the potential bond. The estimated cost of projects discussed was $28 million, which would be in addition to the $12.6 million needed for the ROD grants. This $28 million estimate was broken down by $10 million for new generators, replacing the existing generators at the high school and middle schools, as well as installing new generators at the marine schools. $8 million for paving of parking lots, $5 million for an addition at the high school that would provide the arts program with additional workspace, as well as relocating the wood shop and the conversion of existing space into a wrestling room. $2.5 million for renovation of district playgrounds, and $1.5 million for a new elevator at Lincoln Hubbard and the renovation of elevators at the high school and middle schools. As a reminder, these are all estimates provided by the business office, and the committee spent a considerable time discussing these projects. And while there is constant work and upgrades needed across our school district, we just discussed that certain estimates and projects were largely too big of work to take on. In my previous month's readout, I gave a breakout of playground lifespan across the entirety of the district, and some parts of playgrounds also fall in within the performance period. Given a bond of over $30 million was also issued less than 5 years ago, we want to be extremely mindful of maintaining a debt service level that is in line with historical trends for the City of Summit. The committee did agree we would hold a bond vote separately from the budget and inform the public on which, if any, projects the board would recommend in addition to the ROD grants. The intended timeframe to finalize the bond vote would be April. We also discussed the 2025 to 2026 budget. As a reminder, the 2024 to 2025 operating budget for the district is approximately $86.3 million, with a tax levy of $73.4 million. As with prior years, at this juncture, the business office this month presented a draft budget for the upcoming fiscal that presents a year-on-year increase in high single digits. While there are certain pressure points in this year's budget, including a 3.4% increase in salaries, which are negotiated and not adjustable, medical benefits increase of 10.8%, property casualty workers' compensation insurance increases of 15%, and utility increases of 15% across water, gas, and electricity, a handful of other items are still placeholders. A considerable chunk, almost 75% of Summit's school budget, is outside of our direct control. And it's clear that our country has been impacted by inflation over the last few years, and Summit Public Schools are certainly seeing the realities of those increased costs come to life in this year's budget. The 2025-2026 proposed budget also includes a request for 6 new staff, 1 dance teacher who is proposed to split their time across the middle school and high school, 1 custodian for Summit High School, 1 computer science teacher for Summit High School, 1 emotional regulation impairment aide, and teacher, 1 emotional impairment aide, and teacher, and 1 inclusion teacher. The total requested amount of salary and benefits for these 6 additional full-time employees is approximately $643,000. For the emotional regulation impairment headcount, the additional staff are being requested as part of an expansion of the elementary school program, which Ms. Danton was just discussing, in which we piloted this year and saved the district approximately $200,000. The students currently in this program will be moving to the middle school, thus driving the need to expand the program. The elementary school ERI program will continue and already has 2 students enrolled, which is projected to save the district with those tuition savings. This program also allows us to eventually obtain even further tuition from other students from other districts. I want to just raise the point that all new staff requests will have to be carefully evaluated given the current proposed increase of the year-on-year budget. And the Summit Board of Ed and the district office remain committed to presenting a draft budget that is within range of prior increases, and will spend the remainder of the month, will include extensive work to evaluate every line item and make the difficult but necessary recommendations to ensure Summit's taxpayers and residents are not burdened by an increase in taxes while also maintaining the excellence of the Summit Public Schools. Other key important dates and upcoming events as part of the budget process are the governor's budget message, which will be held on February 25th, and that will be followed by a subsequent announcement on the state aid. The current draft budget assumes that the same state aid from 2024 to 2025 will be provided to the City of Summit. Other critical timeline reminders will be that the temporary budget this year will be held for approval on March 3rd with the Board of School Estimate and liaisons from the City of Summit. There are no committee recommendations at this time. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 10th. Any additions or comments from committee members? And go ahead.
Said 75% of the information, the budget is out of our control. That's, I appreciate the diligence that's going to be required. I don't think that many people understand that, and I just want to recognize that that's a huge chunk of our budget. So I appreciate that you're really staying close to what that cap should be. So thank you for doing the work, and the committee also for doing the work you're doing.
I'd also like to add the importance of that comment, that to underscore our commitment to making a fair and fiscally responsible budget, but really aiming to stay within that 2% increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. We will now move to Policy Committee.
The Policy Committee met on Wednesday, February 5th. We met from 9:30 a.m. to 10:41 a.m., 1 hour and 11 minutes. Committee members in attendance, Superintendent Scott Huff, Robert Gardella, Kathleen Murphy, myself, and Kelly Stanton. Mr. Derek Jess attended for discussion related to P8500 food services. Mr. Maecha was unable to attend this particular meeting. The following policies were discussed with key points referenced below. Policy 5512, harassment, intimidation, or bullying, mandatory revised. This policy has been revised to add information related to parental notification requirements and procedural guidance on when a school district must stay or pause a HIB investigation to allow law enforcement to conclude their investigation should one be occurring simultaneously. Policy and Regulation 9320, cooperation with law enforcement agencies, mandatory revised. This policy and regulation has been revised to include 2 new requirements from the MOA, which is the Uniform State Memorandum of Agreement. The first revision provides the superintendent or his designee with the option to designate a law enforcement unit for the district. A detailed explanation of what a law enforcement unit is and its purpose in the district is in the MOA. And the second revision addresses the Handle with Care program, which is a program which requires law enforcement officials to notify the district when a student enrolled in the district witnesses something traumatic outside of the school environment. Regulation Guide 9320 has been revised to include the language, quote, or other drugs, quote, as marijuana/cannabis is no longer a controlled dangerous substance, but still triggers a district's responsibility to notify law enforcement if a student is under the influence or in possession of marijuana or cannabis. Policy 2365, acceptable use of generative artificial intelligence, also known as AI. This is a new policy that addresses student use of generative AI in a district. It provides a general overview of generative AI with a framework for a district to locally develop an acceptable use of generative artificial intelligence plan, known as an AI plan. Regulation 7440, School District Security, which was an internal update. This is an internal update, ensures that the regulation reflects our current practice related to the cost for lost IDs. Policy 8500, Food Services, which was a mandatory and revised. This revision is a result of statutory changes that impacted the Comprehensive Food Services Policy Guide, which addresses the pertinent provisions of the Working Class Families Anti-Hunger Act, the Federal Regulation 7 CFR 210.1, and all its sequential, and the corresponding federal guidance document, Eligibility Manual for School Meals Determining and Verifying Eligibility. Finally, policy 9163, the Spectator Code of Conduct for Interscholastic Events. It's a new mandatory policy. The New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association, also known as the NJSIAA, requires the board to establish policies and procedures relating to sportsmanship and to identify responsibilities of administrators, coaches, and students to ensure their observance. This is a new policy which creates a spectator code of conduct for all spectators attending an interscholastic event. The committee recommendations are first reading of P5512, PNR 9320, P2365, R7440, P8500, and P9163, as well as a second reading for policy 5460 and policy regulation 5533. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March 12th, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. Any questions, comments?
Thank you, Ms. Erde. Our next committee is communications.
The Communications Committee met on February 4th at noon, and the length of the meeting was 13 minutes. In attendance was myself, Mr. Mahecha, Mr. Cho, Superintendent Huff, and Cabinet Member Lorraine Dickinson. We started by talking about the Investing in Our Future update. Lorraine Dickinson shared information on the latest communications regarding the Investing in Our Future initiative. It was recently featured in the Summit Scoop, which is delivered to parents, guardians, and staff. The update included images and details on the progress of various projects and received positive feedback from staff who expressed excitement about the developments. The high school renovations remain on track for completion in April, while work on the middle school is wrapping up. An update on the Tatlock project will be forthcoming after the bid process, and the committee noted that the Tatlock project had been postponed due to community feedback and discussions with the City of Summit. So strategic planning parent focus group was the next topic. Superintendent Huff provided an update on the upcoming parent focus group for strategic planning. Plans are in motion to schedule the session with the Madison Institute, currently finalizing the format. And I'd like to note that since the committee meeting, an official communication announcing the date and location of the parent focus group has been shared with parents via email. The focus group is scheduled for Tuesday, February 25th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Summit High School cafeteria. So please come out and share your thoughts. As mentioned in the superintendent's remarks, we also discussed the Jefferson principal transition, and Superintendent Huff shared news regarding the leadership changes at Jefferson Elementary. An interim, he mentioned that an interim principal who is Dan Healy will be appointed to serve through July 1st, after which a dual search for both the Lincoln Hubbard and Jefferson principal positions will begin, and the timing aligns with the end of the school year, allowing for a larger candidate pool. And finally, community feedback. There was no new community feedback reported this month. However, the committee acknowledged that communications have been well received with positive responses from stakeholders. The meeting concluded at 12:13 p.m. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 11th at noon. Are there any comments, additions from the committee members, or questions from the board? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cohen. And next will be negotiations and personnel. Our personnel committee did meet this month to discuss the interim hires that were part of Superintendent Huff's report. And with that, we'll move to liaison reports. Are there any?
Yes, I attended the SBF meeting on Tuesday, February 11th at 8 p.m. The two things to report are, one, Spring for Excellence is going to be on Saturday, March 8th from 7 to 11 p.m. at the Elks in downtown Summit. If you haven't bought your tickets yet, please do so. If you're unable to attend but would still like to support SCF's efforts district-wide, you can do so by donating on the website. Their silent auction, which is also online, will go live March 7th at 12 p.m. and will close on March 8th at 10:30. You do not have to be in person to enjoy the silent auction and bid. And the other thing is that the spring grant cycle is well underway with grants already coming in and will close on March 15th.
Thank you, Ms. Stanton. And now it is time for public comment.
Good evening, everybody. Anyone wishing to speak shall first seek recognition by the presiding officer. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address in a clear, audible tone for the record. Please direct all comments to the board president and not an individual member of the board. And please remember to conduct yourself with decorum and respect when speaking and addressing the board. Unless additional time is granted by the board president, please be respectful and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. In addition, please note that this portion of the meeting is for public comment only and not meant to be a back and forth. Board members and administration will not respond to questions or comments at this time. However, information will be provided by the appropriate individuals as soon as possible. Questions asked at this board meeting will be answered in two ways. One, publicly at the next board meeting, and two, by the superintendent or his designee directly to the person who asked the question.
At this time, we'll start with public comment items on the agenda. And if we don't have any, we will move to public comment items not on the agenda.
Hi, I'm Emily Stanishevsky. I live at 7 Colt Road in Summit. I have 2 boys in the Summit schools, and I just felt compelled to come speak tonight after the phone conversation that started at the last meeting. I do better scripted, so I'm sorry, I'm just going to use some notes. So my sons are at elementary school still, but even at their very young ages, I've been quite shocked by how much of an issue smartphones and Apple Watches are already becoming. In my son's 4th grade class alone, students are texting their friends during the day. They're distracted by apps and games on devices, and they're calling their parents from their phones or watches to come and pick them up at school instead of speaking to their teachers and following sort of the right protocols. I appreciate the district policy for elementary schools is that phones should be in backpacks. And I have also heard from our principal, Mrs. Lohr, and my son's teacher that now teachers are being given discretion to ask students to put their Apple Watches in their backpacks as well. But wouldn't it just be cleaner and simpler to have a policy that required smartphones and smart devices to be checked in at the office in the morning and picked up at the end of the day? Of course, I recognize that the schools can only do so much. We have to parent our children. We have to have rules and boundaries set at home first for how our children interact with technology. But my hope and my ask is that as a district, we are doing everything we can to protect our children from all of the negative effects of these smartphones while they're at school, from elementary school through high school. So I'll just close with 2 things. One, I very much appreciate the opportunity to come and give a comment. But it is a little frustrating not to be able to have a dialogue, which I appreciate is the way the board functions. Superintendent Huff, I know we've exchanged some emails last summer about this, and you've interacted with some of the Wait Until 8th ladies, and you even came to a PTO meeting this year. And I understand that the policy now is we're going to continue to monitor and make informed decisions. But I guess I'm asking if there will be an opportunity or there will be a way to gather those things you're hearing from the teachers, from the admins, and share that with the parent community, so we know what kind of changes the board is considering, if any. And then lastly, I'd just love to understand how much weight the parent community has. A lot of us have talked to a lot of parents who would support a full ban on smartphones, a real policy shift in Summit where elementary, middle, and high school students check their phones in the morning and pick them up in the afternoon. So how do we make something like that happen in Summit? Is it 500 parent signatures on a petition? Is it filling this room with parents that are supportive? Just want to try and understand the process and how, what role the parents can play. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for taking the time for doing this. My name is Ronna Barclay. I live at 24 Warwick Road. I'm not from New Jersey, neither is my husband. We moved to Summit because of the wonderful reputation of our schools. And I think that this challenge of screens and cell phones is low-hanging fruit, and we definitely have the skills and great staff to get this resolved. I appreciate the recent efforts that the district has made. I have a third grader at Franklin. I have a sixth grader here at the middle school. And, you know, we're being encouraged to read The Anxious Generation, things like that. With all due respect, I was listening to podcasts with that 2 years ago. We're kind of late to the party. You know, the personal experience for us in my home at Screens is we try to scale back as adults. That's why I actually have this typed out. We try to limit our children's screen time to weekends only at certain times. I realize that's not for everyone, but I do think that it's key to have coordination between school and home when raising a child. I'll leave it to my peers to give you the receipts as to the facts about why it's better just to have 0 screens. But I'll tell you my personal experience is my third grader has come home asking me to watch shows, movies, and even buy products, which upon inquiry, he said he saw on YouTube at school and has even aspired now to be a YouTube influencer. I believe screens are largely responsible for the social skills and intellectual curiosity or lack thereof in our world right now, right? And I've observed the difference between elementary age children now and some of the output of Summit's school district from even 10 years ago. Again, we moved to Summit because my parents' friends told us it was a wonderful place to be. We were told that the schools were some of the most prestigious in the state. Better than Madison, better than all the other ones. It was Short Hills and Summit and then stuff down south, right? But I've been disheartened that we don't seem to have an organized plan here. I think we have the passion, smarts, and will to make this happen if we can collaborate between parents and the school board with clear objectives and clear metrics. And I appreciate your time on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ariel Denson. I live at 3 Blackburn Place in Summit. I just want to echo, we appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you all and speak about screens. I'm just going to be brief because I think the ladies before me said it very eloquently. But I think what I struggle with as a parent, I've got a first and a fourth grader at Franklin, is this has to be a partnership. We are in this together. So how as parents can I sit my fourth grader down and say, here's the research, bud. We know that screens leads to more depression, more anxiety, higher suicide rates, and your administrators and your teachers and your school have the same information, and they think that you should sit with this device and have access to it during the school day. It's hard to message this as a parent at home and then not have that same thinking reflected by the schools. And again, I appreciate that this is difficult, but in my view, the cons list is long and we know what it is. I would love a dialogue to hear what you think the pros are. Why do we need these phones in schools? What are the positive points? Because I think as a parent group, we'd like to come back and combat some of those and at least have more of a dialogue about it. Again, the cons are clear. We know what these are doing to our kids. We know the access to them is detrimental to their mental health. I don't see a reason for them to have access to them. I want my kids to look at the other kid at lunch table and have a conversation and engage and socialize and make eye contact. And they just can't do that when they've got access to their phones. We all know that. So again, just to reiterate what Emily said, more of a dialogue would be appreciated. I think as a parent group, we're ready. We're ready to go. We just need to know what to do. So thank you for your time. I know this is a tough issue, but we just appreciate the opportunity to offer some input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, Michelle Wallach. I'm at 4 Winchester Road here in Summit. I'm echoing everything that the women said prior to me. I didn't prepare anything, so I'm just sort of going off the cuff here. My daughters are a little older, so I thought I could maybe give some insight into them. I have a 9th grader and a 12th grader, in addition to an elementary school 2nd grader. So I've seen, a lot of change just in the past couple of years here. I know the policies, and Superintendent Huff, you mentioned what the policies are, but our teachers are so busy teaching our kids, and they're not necessarily policing it, and I can understand that, right? I know for a fact my 8th grade girl last year, who's in 9th grade now, had her phone the entire day. Is the middle school policy keep it off in your locker? Yes. Did she have it on her at all times? Yes. So I don't know why. When I talked to my 12th grader tonight, again, she was here as a National Merit Scholar. She's a really bright girl. So for her, I can't say that it's affected her academics. But when I said what I was doing, she's like, what? When I'm boarding class, I'm playing Block Blast. And again, we're talking about a National Merit Scholar. She's done really well. She's in every AP class you can be in. But the amount of time and the true addiction to picking it up at all times is there. There are some teachers that have rules that they put it in the shoe dividers when they get in. There's school districts doing all sorts of things. I'm sure you've seen it in the medias. Some have bins outside the classroom that is required. There's lots of ways that we can, come up with ideas to how to make this better. My point to you is, although we have the policies in place, I don't believe for the most part the kids are following the rules. Good kids, and that's my point. Not just like, your occasional delinquent. And I guess that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
May I have a motion to close public comment?
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It is closed. And Madam President, before we move on, I just want to answer the questions from the last board meeting, if I could, please. So at the last board meeting, we had 4 questions. The first one was, what protocols are in place to protect the privacy of families when students share family information, specifically around the Challenge Day program? At the start of the program facilitator covers the importance of confidentiality. Students are told to only participate and share to the level that they are comfortable with. Students are told that they do not have to share any personal information, including family information. The second question was, what are the current policies and practices related to residents communicating directly with Board of Education members? Residents can communicate with Board of Education members directly, and the board member should refer the resident to the appropriate school official that can handle their concern. An example is the principal or the superintendent. Board of Education members should not be answering questions directly, as that is not their role. Residents can also contact the board president to get information to the superintendent. Board of Education members differ from common council members in that a Board of Education member is only a Board of Education member during a public meeting, and they should not be providing answers to members of the public. Speaking from my personal experience, I'm also a board member in the town in which I live, and so whenever a resident will come to me, I would always refer them to the super, even if it was a school issue, so that way the superintendent can dole out the information and get it to the correct person. So we're just trying to make sure that all the board members up here are safe, because we don't want anybody to fall into the ethics violation trap, because I have to monitor that, and that's a lot of work, and I don't want any more work. So that's why. The third question was, what is the district doing to address the cell phone topic in schools? So the administration is monitoring the effectiveness of our current practices and will convene by the end of the school year to make recommendations for a cell phone policy that addresses the needs of our community. The current district policy relative to cell phone usage is policy number 5516, and that can be found on the district website. And the last question is there a way to be informed on the answers to questions asked at the meeting? Well, questions are recorded during the meeting in which they are asked and will be incorporated into those meeting minutes. Questions will be answered at the next board meeting, and the superintendent or his designee will provide answers directly to the person who asked the question prior to the next board meeting. And we will continue this practice moving forward at all of our board meetings. And Madam President, before I turn it back over to you, I just want to say that I would be remiss in my duties as the business administrator if I didn't point out the following. For operations, the overall salary and benefits percentage of our budget is 83%. So we just calculated that, and I just want everybody to know that 83% of our costs are fixed. We cannot change. And Mr. Getzendanner, hold on to your hat, because I just want to let you know that there is no way that we will be at or near 2%, not with all the fixed costs that we have. So I just want everybody to realize that, because I had to say that as the person who was working on the budget with my assistant and with the superintendent and with the operations committee as well. And if we want to continue the quality of education that we have in this town, we're going to be up a little bit. So I just want everybody to be aware. Mr. Getzendanner, thanks for the smile. I appreciate it, because I know we have many conversations about this. And that is all, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we move to approval of board minutes from our January meeting. May I have a motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
And now on to curriculum, instruction, and program, items A through F. May I have a motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Mahecha? Ms. Kelly? Ms. Erde? Mr. Cho? Vice President Cohen?
Yes.
President Justice?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next up is finance and items A through T. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I have two questions in this
Yes.
section. First, item number H, approval to accept a wellness grant from the school's health insurance fund wellness committee. Can I just get some background on what that committee is?
Yes, so the district health benefits are provided by the School Health Insurance Fund, which is a cooperative amongst over 130 school districts within the state. So that's how come, you reported out that our increase is 10.8%. If we were not with the shift, our projected increase would be about 25%. So they do a lot in helping to keep our costs down. One of the benefits of being a member is that they have money which they return to school districts for school health and safety grants. And so this year we're getting $49,000 back from them to utilize. And last year we utilized it for biometric screenings for staff. We used it for chair massages for staff. We used it for webinars on healthy practices and things like that. So this is money that we get back from our health insurance company to help with help the staff in the district get healthier and stay
But
healthy.
it is a grant.
It is a grant.
Okay.
Correct.
And then the other, item J, there's a per pupil cost for tuition adjustment purposes. Is this calculation by various grade levels, is that calculated by the district and what's the purpose of outlining these
So
rough
the-
adjustments?
So these per pupil costs are calculated by the Department of Education based
Okay.
upon our fiscal year 24 budget. So what happens is once our audit is completed, the state will go through all the information, come up with their calculation, and then they will submit this information to us. The reason that we have the board approve it is because if we had students that were coming to our district from another district, these are the tuition rates that we would charge them. And then by having this approved and having the state approve it as well, now we can go to those districts, if we had any, and say, this is how much you paid, this is how much you owe, or this is how much we owe you back as a refund.
And just then a quick follow-up here. So for the ERI program, we would use this estimate, for example, to calculate what it would cost us to take on tuition for that program.
Correct, that would be one of the ways that we do that, correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? All right. Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Mahecha? Ms. Kelly? Ms. Erde? Mr. Cho? Vice President Cohen?
Yes.
President Justice?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next is school board operation, items A and B. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
guys are on fire tonight. That's great. All right. Is there any discussion?
It's me again, Dirk.
Yes.
Um, Is this, so we obviously had a fee for Madison Institute to do the whole programming. This is incremental based on, is
These
this
are these are two additional sessions because you remember we have the parent focus groups that are coming out.
so they've charged us more for that
Correct,
session at
exactly.
6,500?
Correct.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
That includes an additional core session with the team just to analyze the parent focus group.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Mahecha? Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Erde?
Yes.
Mr. Cho? Vice President Cohen?
Yes.
President Justice?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next is personnel items A through double C. May I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Mahecha? Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Erde, sorry. Mr. Cho? Vice President Cohen?
Yes.
President Justice?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And next we have policies and regulations, first and second readings. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Mahecha? Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Erde?
Yes.
Mr. Cho? Vice President Cohen?
Yes.
President Justice?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I have a
Aye.
comment.
Any opposed? Yes, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say that, Jessica's comment about not being able to have us represent the board, at least not possible.
Yeah, I would have to echo that statement as well.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good night, everybody.